to today's edition of Krome Cast, Check It Out. I'm Sam Major, and today I'll be speaking with our sales director, Simon Archibald. Today we'll be talking about the challenges of managing a sales team remotely and some of the tech trends coming up for 2021.
Simon.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me.
Oh well, it's been over a year now, so you can no longer use the new boy excuse. But for those who don't know you, you've been in the channel now for 20-something plus years, and you know all sides of the fence. So reseller, distribution, vendor, pretty much all hats, and now back in reseller land. So it'd be good to just tell people a little bit about your history and I guess how you gravitated into the Krome family.
Yeah, sure. So, full circle actually. So, came out of university into distribution, which was an interesting baptism of fire, shall we say. But it was a good grounding actually for where I am now. So, moved from distribution into my first partner, where I kind of worked through from first salesperson through to sales director in about 10 years there. Then no real kind of, again, looking to move at the time, but started to work with Dell quite a lot actually on a number of deals I was working. And they were really kind of making a bit of a still on the market at the time. Got talking to a lot of the team there, and that culminated in joining Dell in around 2007. Joined there in the segment direct team for a couple of years, more in the acquisition market. So winning new business into Dell at the time. Which is great, and again, no real wish to carry on and move around, but my channel background was known about. We were just, as Dell, then building out a channel model, so I was approached then to join that team and help continue to grow that. Stayed there for 10 years, managed Krome off and on for pretty much all of those 10 years. Pretty much, almost from day one. So it really resonated actually. So actually Krome, from meeting you guys initially, very much resonated with my initial partner I used to work for. So same kind of ethos, the culture's great. And it really kind of hit home from this is kind of where I belonged. I made no bones about it. I think of at some point in my career, I would be at Krome, and
we talked about it a few times.
You kind of got me after the few years of trying, I think. So
beat you into submission.
And I have not looked back since. Absolutely that. So
well,
it's been a busy year. So yeah,
it certainly has.
So obviously, you know, as we just discussed, you've been in all elements of the channel: distribution, reseller, vendor, etc. And not want to age you, but for quite some time. In that time, you know, how have you seen that? I guess that model, that market evolve. What's changed for better and for worse?
So I think distribution actually, first of all, there's been a real consolidation. I think I've seen from the distribution point of view. There's been a few of the, let's call them main lines, the mainline distributions that have been growing. They've been taking a bit of a still of the market, which is great because again, as a partner, it gives us kind of less avenues to have to go to have that one-stop shop type mentality. Partners really, I've seen. I mean, again, worked at a couple now, but managed must be near 100 maybe in my time at Dell. And the ones that have really succeeded, you see, are the ones that the kind of the more niche players. So they have a real value offering. It's not the how much can you save on a laptop type conversation. It's the real customer pain point, or addressing the pain points and developing a solution around that. And again, that's. I mean, we've had a very good year this year in the climate we've going back into again for the second time, perhaps. But that's what we do very well from a Krome point of view. We really have addressed those pain points, and that's what's really attracted me to it. So, and I think that's the changing point there. It's the different levels of partners. You know, there's been some big names out there that have not done so well in the last few years.
That's an interesting point. You've worked for Dell, working with Krome, and now that's shoes on the other foot, if you like. How are you finding, I guess, that experience being that way around? It's an interesting dynamic, actually, being on the other side of the fence. To be fair, it's not one that's alien to me, to be very honest with you, actually.
some of the frustrations, obviously, I can now recognise. But no, look, I mean, Dell, and again, they wouldn't mind me saying this because, again, it was an analogy we used when we were there, but Dell's a massive tanker. It's very hard to slow down and turn around. The bit I always liked about working for a partner and obviously now working for another partner is the agility, the flexibility, and the speed to action as well. So it's kind of what you miss out on maybe being part of a much bigger machine. Which is fine, it's horses for courses, and everyone's got their place. But so I'd say, yeah, I'm keen to really build upon hopefully what I started to build when I was at Dell, and the collaboration conversations between the likes of Krome and Dell. And really from a Dell point of view, the benefit to someone like a Krome to them is just the reach that we can give them, So rather than building out another AE for Dell, it's a whole team of, let's say in our case, 10 or so salespeople instead, who can go out there and drum up that business. So yeah, from a vendor point of view, yeah, I think certainly, like I said, from my experience, Dell, but others who may be solely partner led, that's the sort of mentality there. So yeah, no, I'm keen to sort of drive that and keep driving that message. I work closely with, let's say, I suppose, new me, should we say, in helping drive that. And it's all around who you talk to, what you talked about. But again, it's driving that message back of not trying to save a pound on a laptop here and there, because there's many that will do that. It's more about actually we can find net new business for the likes of a Dell, because we're having the right sort of conversations at the right level with the right customers as well.
So clearly we're doing this over Teams, and to be fair, most of our interaction over the past year has been remotely via Teams or Skype or Zoom or whatever the customer needs us to be using on that day. You've obviously had the challenge of coming on board to Krome, knowing us, knowing the environment, knowing the people. That obviously helped. But the challenge of then, the initial lockdown, and suddenly you're managing a team remotely and having to use these collaboration tools. Well, very much so to collaborate, but to really manage people. Now I know you're very hands-on. You're a doors always open kind of guy. How have you found and addressed the challenge of having to use this type of medium to actually manage a team so effectively?
So it's interesting actually. So the dynamic for me moving from a Dell to a Krome was I've been a remote worker for 12 years. I've always been on the road and never actually within an office. So to move back to the office environment actually was quite exciting to me at the time, because you just miss something not being in an office. You can't quite put your finger on it maybe, but and from a management point of view, it's most definitely easier to manage a team because you can kind of see where they are. Yes, okay, there's been I've got a few remotes anyway in a Manchester office, so there's an element of remoteness there anyway, but it's turned into a different dynamic obviously from a management point of view. So again, after a year and a little bit now of being in with Krome, and obviously I've known Krome for many years, and some of the characters that I've inherited, shall we say, kind of know how some people work. So, and some people will operate independently, and full well they'll be great to carry on from wherever they are. Some need a little bit more of a cuddle every now and again, So, but I think really the positive message there is you can tell. I'm on the phone most of the time, but also try and do mostly actually Skype/Teams calls as well, face to face, because I think that personal touch is important still.
It's important to keep that culture element and that team morale building, right? Especially as we're not, like you say, you miss something not being in the office, the kind of water cooler culture, whatever you want to call it. There's definitely something missing. So I think actually encouraging that bit of downtime at the end of the week, and putting work down and encouraging them to talk about what we're doing at the weekends and so on, keeps that morale and team together, And
I'm just conscious of that. I personally may be used to it. I've done it for a few years, but it's a big mind switch to go from an office space. And I did it 12 years ago. From an office space to a remote role, it's very lonely sometimes. So
having not done that, I can tell you that it's a definite paradigm shift. I used to do one day a week maybe at home, the rest of the time in the office. And to go to full remote it's a big change. So
it's also a trust thing as well, and it's all about, I suppose, changing our outlook really and again, I'm not a stat-based manager, should we say, but it's making sure that we really are moving to an outcome-based model, really, because you can't see who's around and who's on what phone call at what time, like you could do if you're in the office. And I don't want to start really sort of delving into that. So we need to, again, it's a maturity thing, I suppose. We're in a trust thing to take up to the next level, and just being aware that it's as long as we get the outcomes we want, there's going to be an element of flexibility. There's people, younger children at home who may need help there, and there's some with aging parents who need to help with the caring of that as well. So very conscious of people's backgrounds. And again, part of what I'm doing now is really understanding some of their personal requirements, some of the backgrounds, so I can really kind of maybe tailor how and when and how I talk to people, So a lot of that going on.
That's fair. To wrap up, I just want to very quickly look forward into 2021 and some of the technology trends. Clearly, collaboration, remote working, that's not going to change. But it's very interesting to see some of the vendors now coming to market with everything as a service. We've had software as a service and platforms as a service and infrastructure as a service. It's all been around for a while. But there's some announcements by the likes of Dell around literally everything as a service. And I'm seeing it's kind of they're trying to hook everyone into this subscription model, put the hooks into you, you're there for life, good or bad. But it's just interesting how that's now evolved. We're moving away from this CapEx into OpEx, and that is just further evolving more and more and more. Just be interested in your take on how you see that evolving through the coming year.
It's good, actually. I mean, I've always been trying to sell the OpEx model for years anyway, with the sort of leasing solution, should we say. Dell was starting to have the storage as a service, desktop as a service conversation. But now I think, certainly from a Dell Apex release recently, it's everything as a service. Exclusive, of course, on there, on demand, everything as a service as well. I think everything as a service. We've noticed it with Microsoft licensing as well. So again, they're moving to the CSP model, which is subscription based, as opposed to the the many years way of buying Microsoft has now changed or changing. And I think it'll be interesting to see. So I think from our point of view, desktop as a service, computers as a service, infrastructure service is still going to be there. It's just now it's going to be how it's going to be slightly consumed, I suppose, slightly differently. And how we move to that everything as model, and then how we take that in-house. Yes, we're getting closer with and we are close with vendors who are obviously offering this anyway, and we'll look to kind of, I suppose, support that solution. But we'll also look to build out our own solution around our own infrastructure service platform, our backup DR as a service platform, and then how we can maybe integrate that into, can actually Krome provide a everything as a service platform on the back of some of these collaborations that we're talking about.
Well, the nice thing is, you say, we actually sit across, whilst we are very much a Dell house, we make no bones about that, but we are fairly vendor agnostic if you look at the rest of our portfolio, and we can take what Dell offer and we can take what Palo Alto offer and we can take X, Y, and Z, wrap that into our managed services model and actually do that full IT as a service. But we can also layer on top support. Very fortunate in the way our business is structured that whilst our sales team is not small, our technical contingent is very large. So we can actually layer on top of what they're offering with some good technical support and technical knowledge. So I'm really excited to see where the as a service model grows and expands to. So I think it really suits our business as a model. I think we can augment what the vendors are offering quite nicely, and really excited to see where it goes in the next year.
Oh no, I totally agree, and I think that we're all about and like I said, the niche partners out there I saw were all about recurring revenue. So adding to that recurring revenue stream, almost if we can, turn the lights on Monday morning and half of our numbers done, then that's the ideal goal there. So moving that to subscription model works for us. And then, like you said, and this is, we could go on all day about the value a partner brings over and above others. But the support, our 24/7 support we offer on top of that is that, and I hate to say it, that one throat to choke. It really will provide that. So I think that. On top of that, I think the cloud conversation will continue. So, and again, I think we're at the point now. I think hybrid is probably here to stay. So I think hybrid cloud's going to be the answer around cloud. And then within that, and within the storage area, I think as a whole, I think AI and machine learning is going to really take the next step up on that as well. And that's been talked about with all sorts of things, with autonomous cars and whatnot. But I think really we'll see it probably more in that kind of where to store your data and how to store your data and that sort of thing. So I think that's where AI and that sort of thing will probably affect us pretty more from there. But I think really AI, machine learning, I think everything as a service and that hybrid cloud message, I think that is probably going to be 2021 for us. But we've got to get into it, I suppose, really, and hopefully this over the hump that we're now about to face, hopefully as well. So,
thanks, Tom. Thank you for your time, and thank you for joining us on Krome Cast. Take it out. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if there's anything you'd like to see us to discuss, please leave that in the comments below. Helps us shape our content for the next podcast. Thank you.